Nothing like some backwards music. I just hope we're not talking to the devil. What? This is awesome. That is Thunder. Hopefully one day we'll be able to play it the right way like we used to, but we have not been given permission. And if there was ever a guy in the business that could get permission for this kind of thing, it's our guest tonight on the Yeah Come On show.
Yeah, right.
I just want to say I'm Southside Steve, your host. That's my co-host, Brett Barney, and our guest, a man that I was in the studio with for many, many years, who has exited Atlanta but been back on the air in Atlanta. It is Sebas, Sebastian Daskowitz. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, come on. Thanks for having me, Steve. Yes, I did come back on the air in Atlanta, syndicated with The Woody Show, and now we're back off again.
Oh my goodness. Who knows? Who knows? Are y'all still syndicated, or are you doing radio in California only?
Yeah, no, we are based out of LA, but then we're on a couple dozen stations. Trying to think, some big Philly, Las Vegas, Austin, a couple other places all around this fine country of ours. So yeah, it's a good time.
That's great, man. So the syndication, Brett, I don't think you've ever been a member. Do you know Brett Barney, Sebas? Was he before or after your time?
I think he was around a little bit, but we were talking beforehand, and we never really got to know each other that well at all. So
it was a
he's
coffee
a hustler.
machine kind of thing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
No, he's a hustler. He's one of those guys. They held on to him and gave him 6 months pay during the first of the pandemic, and then they cut him loose like nobody's business.
Well, that happens.
Yeah. It's the business. But he's back in the business, which is great. We don't usually talk about what Brett's up to. For a moment there, tell him who you produced.
So I was doing Nancy Grace's show.
Oh, geez. There you go.
Yeah.
Was that like a Sirius XM thing, I'm guessing, right? Or
Yeah, and Fox Nation.
Okay, very nice.
So I was hanging out at her house.
Yeah. And he was writing. We were doing some really cool podcasts at the station. We're halfway through one, and the one that we finished was the bombing at Centennial Park. So we got the attorneys, anybody and everybody that was still alive that would talk to us. And much covered the entire story and how, Richard Jewell and 96 Rock brought him in and, and talked to him. But, he's since deceased, and it's just like, we covered it best we could, but it was so good to be on the inside with his attorneys. But that's the kind of what Brett brought to the table. Now,
okay, yeah.
Sebas, you did it all for the regular guys. Did it all.
Yeah, I mean, it was, a lot of man on the street stuff, which is great. I love that stuff because it kind of, this, Steve, because you did and still, I'm sure, do a bunch of that kind of stuff. It keeps you on your feet. You have to deal with the public. You have to deal with danger, crackheads, late at night, early in the morning sort of stuff. And that's very helpful for me because I go around the country now covering different events and things like that. Is you kind of learn how to blend in, keep your head on a swivel, don't stick out and be that news anchor dork that everyone's going to think is some kind of narc there to screw with everybody. So yeah, that kind of stuff was very, very helpful to kind of do that for the regular guys with Steve.
Yeah, and it's so weird because you're right. I would get a call, and this is even before I worked with Sebas when we were at 96 Rock, before Rock 100.5, and it'd be like 10:30, 11, and my producer would call and go, "I've lost 2 guests. You know what? Larry's gonna freak out. You got to go get me some audio. You got to go get me drunk, say the darndest things," which meant I had to walk in a bar, similar to what you did, or go get me some homeless audio. And back then, what I did was what's happening. You did what's cracking.
Right. Yeah.
And same thing. But it puts you on the street at 10, 11, or 12. And what Sebas knows, and I know, but you never talk about it because God forbid we talk about our past during the present show, especially since the people I work with now didn't work with them. It's like I'm the old guy. But I'm like, dude, we knew that if you didn't hit Trinity or street, right there where all the nice homeless people, or you got out to, around Georgia State and got those guys, after about 7:30, they're in the churches, they're in for the night. You got to go down the street to where all the bad homeless people are, and you're
the guy slinging crack, essentially.
Yes, essentially. And you got to talk to these guys and not get killed. I would take off anything of value, wear my worst clothes, and walk out there going, worst case, I'll run. I'll just drop my recorder and run.
Right. I got my ID, no credit card, no debit card, whatever cash I need just for that. And then your car keys where, got to take off. And they would always they would always have, you could smell who had just done crack because there's this weird metallic chemical breath they would have. And it's right in your face as they're singing or talking or whatever. And it was getting stuck up your nose.
Yeah, you've done secondhand crack.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, that's one of those things that's kind of gone away, I guess, in the post-2020, 2019. You know, the homeless karaoke couldn't be a thing like it was back in the day. So that's because now you're shaming or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But it definitely can tune your, like Stephen and I are saying, it can tune your reflexes and keep you aware of your surroundings. Because, they don't give, they see a guy with some money and some equipment, sell that for crack.
That's it, and that's what they want to do. So I had a horrible recorder, and I had headphones that I would never touch because I'd put them on every homeless guy in Atlanta.
I remember those headphones, the homeless karaoke headphones were these old, like Casio. And I would give them to Vinny Bucci, our intern, whenever he needed headphones. Like, here, take these.
Oh, and you're looking at him, you're like, your ears are going to fall off. Oh, my God. You look. First off, I just want to say, and I know Brett Barney that you haven't really seen Sebas a whole bunch, but you look great, dude. You don't like you've aged a day. I'm trying to think, how many years has it been since you sent a cardboard box to California?
Yeah, about coming up on 6 in April, and I appreciate that. See, we were talking. I'm in my bathrobe here. I rented this new house near our station. And what Steve talked about, I moved out here because I didn't really have anything. I was renting a room in my friend's house in East Atlanta, and I had some equipment, some clothes, and basically got 3 Tupperwares, put them on a Greyhound, and then I just took the rest of it in a duffel bag, and moved out here. And it all showed up a couple days later. I went to downtown LA, picked it up, and then and that was that.
It was unbelievable. I was there. I think I was one of the last ones. I know I drove Sebas home that day, and I really had a soft spot. Sebas and I went at each other a couple times, but it's only because Sebas is like literally. We said you were a sociopath, but you just don't have feelings. You won't do what you have to do. You're coming across sweeter now than I've ever seen you. Maybe California life is rubbed off, but
it softens you up.
It does. But what you wore was a performer. And that's why I know Larry loved you, and you worked with us. A lot of people don't remember, Bailey and Southside when it started. It was just the Rock 100.5 morning show, and it was still you, still Tim Andrews, and we were doing a show. And let me tell you, to this day, Bailey will still, every once in a while bring you up and go, "That guy was solid. He did it all."
That.
And
how long was it? That like 6-8 months? Was that less than that? Maybe I forget.
Less than that. And I think when you came down to it, I think you had an opportunity, like a lot of people. You'd been sending out tapes and doing stuff, and you were doing things on a larger scale, to seeing what would bite, and something bit. And you got on a great syndicated morning show, and you moved out. And like I said, when you sent in your notice, it kind of shocked us. We were like, losing Tim Andrews, not a big deal. I mean, he was.
Again, no offense to Tim Andrews. I'm still very friendly with, we don't talk a lot, but I would like to think we'd be friendly if we hung out.
I'm just giving him hell because that dude did the classic thing, and I don't even know if
that was right after I left, right?
Yeah.
They put him into the producer position.
And he took it because I don't blame him for this. And Tim, I'm having some fun with you, but Tim took the gig. He's like, hell yeah, there's a raise that comes with it. I'm taking it. So when we got a morning show coach, he literally looks at him in a meeting and goes, I don't want to produce. I hate producing. He goes, then why are you the producer? He goes, and literally said to the guy, because I could make more money.
Hey, he's honest. There you go. You got that going for him.
And I will give him that 100%. He was honest. And I'm like, you just committed radio suicide. And, but the one thing you can't take away from him is, number one, the guy is a great illustrator. He has his own style of drawing. He's since married a very pretty anchor and
way above his pay grade, for sure.
A lot of us outshot that. Yeah, I'll even put myself in that category. But he did. He married a wonderful anchor and somebody that does a lot of on the street stuff for Fox 5. And now they're married. Now she's pregnant. And from what I hear, the dude's pretty solid. But when I was around him, he did some cutthroat things. And I didn't write him off. I just kind of said, I just don't need the negativity in my world. And that's all. That's where we are. And a lot of people, and I've said this about people with you, I'm like, nah, you knew where you stood with Sebas. And I said, I would do things for him, but the guy was there to perform. I said, and you're silly intelligent. I don't know whether you knew it or not, Brett, but Sebas here is a member of Mensa and a graduate, and a graduate of Georgia Tech.
Boy, yeah, that Georgia Tech. Speaking about that Georgia Tech, man, that degree means a whole lot in Atlanta. Outside of Atlanta, no one knows what the hell Georgia Tech really is because we haven't had a good football or a basketball team. I mean, they know it's good, but they know MIT, they know Caltech, especially out here on the West Coast. They know Stanford. Georgia Tech's great for the Southeast, like that's where because it is the MIT of the Southeast, basically. But outside of that, man, it's so weird. Like when you come out to California, they don't know anything about where Atlanta is next to Florida. They don't know how far like Miami and Fort Lauderdale, or not Miami, but like Miami and Tampa are from each other. The same way we don't know crap about California. Like people think, oh yeah, San Francisco is like what, an hour north of LA? Like no, not at all.
No, try 4 hours.
Right, exactly. But it's the same sort of isolation. A lot of people out here, they just don't leave California very much at all, and so they don't know about all the stuff that happens in Atlanta. For them, it's it's hip hop. That's basically it.
Well, at least we got that. But you know what? Yeah. For me, everybody was, when you're growing up and you're watching Chips or all this other stuff, everything's in L.A., roller skating, skateboarding, everything. It's like surfing, you name it, it's there. So I think we all dreamed of living there or at least going out there. And for me, I knew
You just muted yourself.
Yeah, we just lost you for just a second there.
You know what it was? The screen went down. All right, I'm muted. All right, so now I'm back. I said some incredible things. If y'all, no,
you're saying skateboarding, chips.
Yeah, skateboarding, chicks. You're seeing everything filmed on the West Coast. Everybody wanted to live out there, so like anybody that could has already traveled out there, not once, but 10 times. The weather's fantastic, so California, but there is no reason for them to come here. None. And it's like
not until Tyler Perry and all the TV and movie stuff, really. That's what kind of broke it up about, 10, 15 years ago.
Right. And now we're seeing movies filmed, but it is weird when you don't know an area. And that's the way I feel about the Northeast. I don't know a lot of the locations. I got no idea, no reason to know. But for you getting that opportunity and just quitting Rock 100.5, which is always good to quit and not get fired.
Yeah.
You went out good. You could come work here tomorrow. When you were working on the streets, you got this Georgia Tech education. And what was your degree in?
Chemical engineering, chemical and biomolecular engineering, to be specific.
And that could have garnered a pretty nice salary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead, you were making nothing, chasing a dream. And as far as I know, you lived in a trailer at the Pink Pony.
Yeah, that just came up recently. Yeah.
Yep. Then you lived. I think you lived behind houses that were being constructed for a while. I know you slept. In your vehicle, and you would park in parking lots where you thought you could get away with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And the best one yet is that nobody knew, but you lived at the radio station for 6 months, and nobody knew because we had piled up a bunch of stuff, and he had a sleeping bag, and he slept at the radio station, and nobody knew.
Yeah, that's sort of correct. I was in my car / in the radio station because I didn't want to. It kind of, especially during the summer, it sucks to sleep in a car in Atlanta just because it's so hot and humid. So you can't unless you find an air conditioned garage somewhere. So if I want to take a nap during the day, you're right. I had like a bunch of boxes and a sleeping bag in these areas that were kind of, storage / under construction use. And every once in a while, 2 or 3 times, and I like Mike Key or whoever would be in there getting something. And they'd be, what the hell?
They're like, who's in here? Just me.
Yeah. So I was sort of. There was one time, I remember it was something we did where I had that RV before I moved it into the parking lot of the Pink Pony, who was very nice to let me, they built me a fence and a deck and everything. As I was parking it across the street before they demolished that whole office building area. And I was walking, because I was walking to work at, 5 a.m. or whatever to use the shower in our gym at the station. And I think it was Larry who was driving in, and he saw me in slippers in a row with a, duffel bag full of clothes. He's like walking across the street from the RV that I was sleeping in. He's like, what are we doing? How are we employing these people?
I know. They damn it, like give the guy some money. But that's why when this gig came down, and I can just look right now, your chair, your robe says Sebas on it. So I'm just wondering, what now have you acquired with the change in your life? Like how much has your life changed in 6 years?
Oh, completely. Absolutely. I mean, I've got, a 401k. I've got a bunch of money in the bank. I'm selling a condo that I bought. I'm going to make a lot of money on that. I'm renting this place near the station, but I'm going to be buying a home, hope maybe in LA. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. You talk about what people see about LA. I'll tell you what it's about. Happening in LA now. It's not sun and surf and skateboarding. It's homeless people taking dumps on every single street corner. And the housing prices are still through the roof. But yeah, I'm not going to afford to live here now. I can afford silly, stupid things. I thought of you when I was going through my closet this morning, Steve, and I got this T-shirt. The Burt Reynolds posing with his ass out in number 12. I guess probably around whatever the hell that football movie was. But
yes, that is awesome.
Longest Yard, yeah,
the Longest Yard, and I think that was for Playgirl magazine.
Yep, I believe so. Got that bootlegged. But yeah, no, it's been a great time, and I don't know I imagine on the Yeah Come On podcast you talk about. Steve's very famous for his number of women he was with before he settled down.
Actually, we never mentioned that.
Oh, really? But I had a moment here in LA that it's one of those things like, okay, I can die now. Like, I'm good. I'm done. And I thought it makes me think about you a lot, Steve, because one of the things and the way you were able to rack up those numbers is you were around where hot women were. Bars, Hooters. I always think about that now. If I should have told, and I would have this piece of advice for every 15, 16-year-old kid who's looking to get a part-time job. You're not going to, don't be bagging groceries at the grocery store or stocking shelves at Costco. Those are fine jobs. But if you want to get, you want to be getting laid by hot women, be a cook at the Hooters, be a bar back at a great, at a big nightclub with hot women. We work your way up to a bartender. Do all those things because just being in the arena of those people raises your odds. No matter how skilled a game, that's, Steve was doing bar gigs for years and years, doing Hooters pageants for years and years. And if you're just being around that stuff is going to get you that action. And that's one of the nice things about being out here in LA is there are, it still is, despite the internet, the porn capital of the world, basically. And so guess who listens to the radio? Porn stars do. And one thing led to another, became a friend with a woman who in today's standards is like top 3. And we went to a concert. One thing led to another, back to our friend's house. Best night of my life. And I'm like, duh, I can die. That's worth moving. That's worth moving out here. That's it. I thought, you know what? But being in the arena, being around where these people are, that raises that chance.
No, and it does, and you just got to have a little bit of game, and you can pull it off. And
you'll learn the game. You'll learn the game by being around that.
Yeah, you do, and a little bit of alcohol doesn't hurt either. But it's not just alcohol. Alcohol just makes it a little easier. Ice is the cake, but you still got to have game. You
oh sure, yeah, definitely.
No, and speaking of that, Sebas, the reason I know you've heard, or maybe you haven't. I have 2 children now.
I have heard. Yeah, you got what, two boys?
2 boys. I got a 3-year-old that'll be 4 in May, and I was just in his bed, and he's like, "I love you, Daddy," and then he goes, "You can go work," and I'm just like, God, it brings tears to my eyes, man. And I'm like, I'm a dude that used to change my sheets twice a day because I made the mistake of sleeping with a girl in my bedroom and not the couch, in the morning, knowing another one was coming over at night, and I'm like, here I am now with this almost 4-year-old, and then I've got a 8-month-old. And 2 boys, and it's just weird how my life's changed. But the reason I knew I could have children is Sebas and I did a bit. We went, and I had to go and get tested to see if I had swimmers.
Mm-hmm. And Sebas is out. Married at a later age.
Yeah, I did. My God, I didn't get married till I was, I've got married at 47, 48. And here I am now, 55, about to be 56 in a week. I'm like, holy shit. But I've got kids. I've got an 8-month-old. So, but Sebas was outside the door, and he's taping. I will tell you, Sebas had a lot to do with my success. definitely in the later years, just because he had a camera. He followed me everywhere. We did so many things together, whether it was for clients or whether it was for Southside Steve TV. And he was out there filming. And I remember being in the room and having 8 tracks and everything looked nasty. And I've got to masturbate into a cup. And I'm like, how am I going to aim this? And I'm in there for a minute. And I just remember Sebas knocking at the door going, come on already. I'm like,
it was, yeah, well, and to be fair, that's my fault a little bit, obviously, because I was a sperm donor for so many years. So I was just used to it. I had the whole routine down, boom, and it was the same setup. So, and that's, so I wasn't as sympathetic as I could have been, given that I was a quote professional at whacking it in a doctor's office.
Yeah. It was not the best setting for me. And so finally I did it, and we found out I had big time swimmers. And I will tell you, both times we tried, I got Amanda pregnant in about 45 days, both times. God bless. Oh. I'm blessed to be able to do that. I know so many people struggle, but that's where I was going to go. Brett, I don't know if you realize it, but Sebas is trying to make money. Now, when you're a Mensa member and you're a graduate of Georgia Tech, and you have a huge brain on your head and athletic, Sebas played sports, so what do? You donate your sperm. And
yeah,
tell what you did. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, crazy. So there's a big, and I didn't know this till I left Atlanta, but the sperm bank we have in Atlanta is the big supplier for most of America, a lot of Europe. And so, yeah, you could go in and up to 3 times a week make a donation, quote unquote, and they would give you $65 for just your donation. Or if you did not want to remain anonymous after they turned 18, you get $100 per donation. So, yeah, up to every time I could, 3 times a week, pop in there after the show in the morning. And that definitely helped keep me afloat, making whatever $10 an hour part time that I was making for however many years. At Rock 100.5, and it came up a couple times on the show where there was one time where I got a Christmas card from Australia.
I remember this.
Where the woman, and she's like, "Yeah, this is little William," because they couldn't send it to me because she can't find me till the kid turns 18. They won't tell her what my name is, but they sent it to the office and they said, "Hey, you got a Christmas card?" I'm like, "What? The what?" And she's a little picture of this little kid, whatever, little baby, and he's like, his name's William after what you said on your bio. I was like, what the hell did I say? It's your favorite author is William Shakespeare. I was like, oh, that's a lie. But hey, it's a good name. What's nothing wrong with William?
No, and hey, get this, the picture, and I'll say it, looked exactly like Sebastian. I mean, it was his face, and I'm like, oh my God, how many children do you think you have out there? And since I haven't seen you in 6 years, have you gotten phone calls? Because I'm assuming you took the bigger money knowing they could get in contact with you.
Yeah, so the 18-year mark, I really need to figure out when that's going to be. It's not yet, but here's the thing that's happened since you and I were last hanging out, Steve, is all these DNA sites have come out. 23andMe, Ancestry.com, and so this sucks. But my mom is a huge genealogy buff, Daughters of the American Revolution, all that stuff. She's into all that, family tree stuff. She loves looking into that. So she, to the point that she has her account on 23andMe, and she does my dad's and my grandmother's for them, just because she likes looking at that, talking to people, whatever.
Sure.
And guess who's been popping up on that? But grandkids. So, yes. So I got a call about a year and a half ago. I'm driving back into LA from Coachella. She's like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing?" "Oh, driving home." Okay, well, yeah, you have a son, and his name is like whatever that was, Thomas or whatever. I was like, oh man, and because at the time we had talked to her on the air before I worked about the whole sperm donor thing, but I had kind of convinced her off the air that was just a joke. And I was like, well, yeah, that wasn't a joke. I was really doing sperm donation.
Oh.
And she's like, well, and whoever, because obviously the kid didn't sign up. His parents put him in there just because he, as a sperm donor kid, that makes sense. You want to see what his background is because you only know so much from the paperwork and stuff. So they put his full name in, and my mom's like, ooh. So she finds pictures, like you said, look just like me. And now here's again, because she's not being she's sort of being a busybody, but she just likes this stuff.
Sure,
so she reaches
I get it.
She reaches out through the website, say, hey, I am the biological grandmother. If you want to know about family history, I could clue you in.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What are you doing? Thank
Oh,
God the people were like, you know what? They were nice about it. They said, hey, we're going to let him make that decision when he turns 18. Appreciate it. But then they changed his name to like, first name, initial or whatever. She was like, oh, too late. I already know. So she's been, I went home for Christmas, still been like cyber stalking this kid.
oh
Who's
man.
whatever, 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever. And she's like, want to see some new pictures? She's got him from whatever stalking his family. And she's not trying to like, she's not being a nuisance about it, but she's just, because she loves that stuff. She had 4 kids herself, so, and then fast forward to like 6 months ago, another call. I'm driving back from Vegas. What are you doing? I was like, oh crap.
Another kid.
another pop-up.
Oh, have you had a girl? Have you had a girl yet? Or are they all boys?
I don't know. This most recent one, I don't know what that is because it was anonymous. Just it just says you share 25 or 50 whatever % of your DNA with this person.
Wow.
So I don't know, but it's funny too because that every time there's a sperm donor story, and there was one recently. The company's name is Zytex. They're in Buckhead near the old 96 Rock Studios. They had some kind of scandal where some guy lied and had a bunch of kids, and it turned out he had I'm paraphrasing, so don't sue Steve.
No.
Some sort of mental issues, because that's the thing about sperm donoring is they have to take your word for it. I was worried about it at first, because they asked for this huge family history and health stuff. I'm like,
Sure.
I don't know my grandfather's blah blah blah. They don't check. They just take your word for it. So
Wow.
I mean, they still check your genetics. They make sure you don't have genes for problems with all those issues that you deal with. I'm sure you dealt with it with Amanda. You probably got checked before you decided to have kids. Make sure there wasn't a problem with.
No, I just went in.
Whatever.
I just went in. I went old schools. I went 1800s with it. Hey, I like you. You like me. Let's have sex.
Yeah,
I will tell you. Yeah, come on. The one thing, unlike you, I tried not to do was have children. So I was very good at not having children. I never wore condoms, so I had to be very good at not having children. Right. And I had a good technique. I had some game. I knew when to hold them and when to get out. Mm-hmm. And never happened that I know of. No one's ever come to me. So when it came to the point that we decided we wanted to have children, which is really to me the one reason you get married, it is the reason. It was weird for me trying. It was odd.
Because your muscle memory kicks in.
Yeah, it was just weird. I'm like, I'm going for it, and it was just crazy.
Now, did you ever have during your single days, Steve? You ever have a girl ask you to complete the act? Just like, oh yeah, come on, you can.
Two times. And I'll tell you, one was when I was working at Rock 100.5, and you remember the guys in promotions, Dutch and all those dudes.
Sure, yeah.
Worked with us. So this girl, and she worked out in Douglasville, and I'd done a gig out there at this hot rod like bar. She was cute, way cute, hit on her hard, instantly, got her number, called her the next week, went and saw Goat Boy comedian, whatever his name.
Oh, Jim Brewer. Yeah.
Jim Brewer. We went and saw Jim Brewer, hung out with Jim afterwards. She was a huge fan. Go back to the house. We get medieval. Well, then we keep dating her. I keep dating her and I keep hooking up with her. And she just had a verbal game. And we were just talking and just being buck nasty. And she did one of those, let's go for it. And I went, are you sure? She goes, yeah, I want it. And I did it. And I did it. Then I'm like, what have I done? So I'm freaking out. So I literally asked her so I asked her when she was due, when it was going to come about and everything. She gave me the date when she was going to have her period. I went in because in promotions, they have a calendar. I went on the calendar on that date and I took a red Sharpie. I'm like, this date, this has to happen. If this doesn't happen, I've got a kid. And literally, of course, I had to date her until, and thank God I got to know, and she did, and then we kind of went our separate ways. Now I don't know what she does now. I think she's a prison guard or something. But
I've been with multiple women, and only here in LA that's their thing. They're like, oh, you can finish. Like, I don't wanna. I'm not gonna. Nope. Not gonna happen. Nope.
No. You don't want that. Nobody. I mean, that's the thing. And what I want to get clear, like I said, your company, I don't know anything about that or what the company does, but either way, these people are trying to have children, and I've now met people that are trying to have children.
Yeah.
They'll do anything. And you know what? If they can't, the fact that there's somebody like you, which they get a healthy guy, and your mother's checked your past, so it's not like you're, and they make sure you don't have cancer running through, you don't have this running through. It's all still a crapshoot. Even if it looks bad on paper, you can have the perfect child. But I'm telling you, I'm preaching to the choir. But in that situation, you still provided, a family with a child, and that's all they care about. And we all know a parent isn't the guy that gets somebody pregnant; it's the person that raises them. But I just want to ask you: do you freak out ever? Like, is there ever a point at night when the lights are off and you're like, "How many kids do I have? Oh my God." Oh my God.
Well, I mean, I got used to it because it's kind of trickled in slowly. There's that Vince Vaughn movie, whatever it is, where he, they all come and find him when they're in college. But I think, because all this genetic testing, it's kind of been a slow drip, and that postcard and all that stuff where there's, thank you for reminding me, Steve. I have another story to tell about this. I completely forgot about that. But no, back when you're talking about the testing. I didn't go through the whole thing. Every time you donate, you're given a urine sample. Every 6 months, they're testing your blood, which includes genetic testing. There's a physical examination. You get a doctor on his knees or her knees, hopefully, down there lifting, looking. So I'm getting STD tests every time I'm donating, basically. So yeah, they do cover as much as they can expect to be covered as far as that stuff goes. Like you said, for recessive genes, and because they showed me a picture of my chromosomes, So like I said, because that's what the parents to be want to know is like you said, who knows? You can always have things go wrong, but they want it to give it the best chances possible. So you're exactly right about that, and that is I didn't lie about anything about by any means. As far as helping people get, create the families they want all around the world. But, so I move out here, and it's been a few years, I think that's why I forgot about this. And I'm on the air here, and there's these donor groups online where I gave a donor number. I don't even know what it is, like 9625 or whatever, but there's a 4-digit code you give so that other people can go online, even if they don't have this DNA check, and they can chat about, oh, hey, these are your half siblings or whatever, if they want to get together. It's cool. Again, people like what my mom's doing. They just want to get to know people, get to know about their families. And, it's interesting stuff to learn about. A year or two on the air here, we get an email at the show from a lesbian couple who they basically figured out through their donor matching online that I was the dad. They had,
that's awesome.
I cannot believe I forgot about this.
No, I can't either. And again, the seriousness of it, you did them a solid. You did.
Lesbian couple, they wanted kids. They had them. To answer your question, twins, boy and girl, who are, I think, 10 or 12 now.
Wow.
And they sent pictures in. They look a hell of a lot like me.
Yeah, you know what? You do. You have a distinctive look. You know what? And my son looks exactly like me. I look at my baby pictures and you match them up, they're the same. And everybody looks at him and goes, well, that's Steve. But then my other son has Amanda's eyes. They're like they're blue, they're beautiful, that long eyelashes. And if you dress him tight and just look at his face, you swear it's a girl. Mm-hmm. So I got a guy with kind of a girl's face. So he's going to be a real pretty kid, I guess, but he looks like his mother.
Well, that's right. I look like my mom. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you look at you, of course, they're going to probably look almost like you, if not. And that's bizarre. You could.
Well, it's not even there, Steve. So we had an event 2 years ago, year and a half ago, where they let us. It's really cool. I don't know if they do this at Six Flags in Atlanta, but Disneyland will let companies take over from 8 to midnight or whatever, like during the week. So you can big company. So like our entire radio cluster rents out Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
No lines. I mean, it's it's just like awesome. 5,000. It's like 5,000 people when it should be 30,000 or whatever. And guess who shows up to the Disneyland takeover? But again, very nice people. They've been super lovely. Love them. They're super sweet.
Twins.
The lesbians with the twins. And I'm sitting there. We had invited, you know him. He's a friend of yours, Bert Kreischer. He lives in L.A.
Yeah.
Median, The Machine. He's on a bunch of. He's blown up since we got to know him. Jeez, he's all over TV.
He really is. Yeah. I'm proud of Bert. He's doing really well.
Absolutely. So he's there. I'm sitting there. I'm walking him around with his wife. We've, as you might imagine, have had a few drinks, and here comes the twins. And I just try to sober up. All right, nice to meet you. And they didn't want, again, these mothers there. They said, we just wanted to say hi. They don't want any kind of relationship or anything. They, they let them make that decision when they're 18, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, that's very classy of them,
Yeah,
I think. The fact that they got a chance to meet you and then they're leaving it up to them, that is a caring parent. That's wide open, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's super classy. I'm glad to hear that. But
that's the thing I think about sperm donation is because it takes, it's not free. Getting that stuff done, you have to, that's
very expensive.
You have to be really committed to wanting to be a parent and going through with it. So that's why I think people, like we've talked about, do act so responsible about it.
But I know Burt Kreischer on 5 drinks, and I know his reaction without even getting into it. I've gotten drunk with him too many times. I'm like, oh, no filter. I mean, Burt Kreischer, you're talking about a man that doesn't care. How many times was he naked in the studio for no reason? Just
that
naked.
was his
thing.
Move, yeah. And that, although because he brought his kids there, because that's why he came, was his teenagers now, I guess, wanted
his daughters.
Disneyland for free. Why not? And so he keeps his shirt on at Disneyland. I'll give him that.
Well, at least he does. And right now with the Yet Come On show, I just want to thank our sponsors. And we do have sponsors, and this is a great topic.
Oh, great.
Special thanks to Circle285.com. That is for your insurance needs, home and car. You're probably paying too much. You might be loyal to a company that does a lot of commercials, even during the Super Bowl like I was. But look, get a quote, get a better deal, and they can really help you. So it's worth it. It's free to get the quote. Secondly, oxygenfinancial.com for all your money needs with Ted Jinkin. And then lastly, Ridgeline Counseling, Dr. David Markwell, a psychologist, because I think after you listen to our show, sometimes you need one. You could, and you might need it, Sebas.
Oh yeah.
But those are our sponsors, and again, we're talking with Sebas, Sebastian Daskwitz, graduate of Georgia Tech, a regular guy, in my opinion, with the regular guys during our heyday. Also with Bailey and Southside for about 6-7 months before moving out to California. And the one thing I like to do is I like to turn it over to Brett. He likes to throw out some questions, and I just want to see where this goes. And I can tell you, we have so much to cover. I might want to have you on this podcast like once every month and a half just to talk about
these home studios. It's way easy, man. I like it.
Yeah, well, your setup looks fantastic. Brett, go ahead.
I don't think I can top anything that has been discussed.
You could try.
I did
hold on, before you go on, there's only a couple of guys that did radio in Atlanta, and I'm going to toot our horn the way Sebas and I did it. And I'm trying to think if there's another one. Maybe in 99X's heyday, there might have been a guy.
I think Rich Shirtenlieb's probably the guy.
Rich.
There's a bit, and it was nasty too. That the one bit I remember because I knew, because he was a Georgia Tech guy too. And I didn't hear this bit, but I just heard of it through the lore of being in Atlanta radio and I think it was right after Dale Earnhardt passed away.
Oh no!
And he was in, I forget, I don't want to screw it up because I'll make it sound worse than it was, but he was in like Pigeon Forge, and he got some like airbrush T-shirt that was in very poor taste. He'll have to tell you what exactly. And he's doing radio in Boston now, by the way, with Fred Toucher.
He and Fred Toucher are killing it together. Yep.
Yeah, and they've been up there for years and years and
years.
They have,
yeah.
But like stuff like that where it was on this. Oh, he did like before Jackass was a thing. He was doing like the pretending to take a crap on the Home Depot toilet, that sort of stuff. That kind.
And we had a mad crapper because we stole everything. Thank you, Larry. But I had the mad crapper was a buddy of mine, and I went out, Brett, and we went to Marta Stops because we figured we could pull it, and he would run out with a mask, a Lone Ranger mask, and he'd be wearing a cowboy hat, and he'd drop his pants and take a deuce in front of everybody at the bus stop. And then he would run off and go, "I'm the mad crapper," and he'd say that and run away. And I've got a hidden mic on me, and all I did was pick up on all the conversations and the reactions to what he did.
And there's so much you could do back then before cell phone cameras. I was thinking that I'm watching The Sopranos now just over again, and they're beating the shit out of people. Crap, excuse me if I can't cuss on your podcast.
We don't cuss. We do, but we don't try to like cuss.
Right? Yeah. No,
you know what I mean. So feel free to cuss.
Right, but there's so much you could get away with back then because if we had cell phone cameras with the mad crapper, you know who that guy was because all his friends would know. They say, "Oh, I know that guy is, Jackass, whatever." So that was sort of a cool thing.
Yeah, and he had a good job. So, Brett, before you ask your questions, that is the one thing that Atlanta never had. Howard Stern in Atlanta, but you had three dudes on the street, three guys that played that role, that were willing to sleep with almost anybody, do anything, sleep on a billboard, crash like I did in a hot air balloon, the stuff that people have forgotten. But if you've lived in Atlanta, you remember. So, yeah, this is pretty much Atlanta royalty. I'll give us that. Including Rich.
Steve, you and Bailey, is there anyone doing any kind of like comedy, fun sort of? I mean, you could say the Burt Show's doing that for women, but that's different, obviously.
It's different. We're pushing the envelope, and you got to watch it. I will say that I told a joke that I told on the regular guys, but except in this world we live in, got myself a nice 10-day suspension and got a wake-up call for it. So I won't go into that.
And you got a family now too, so that's something to worry about that you couldn't.
But you still want to entertain people. That's the thing. What people have to realize. I wish people, if they don't like what they're listening, don't listen. But it's like radio is the lower rung. It is right there with a stand-up comedian, except we can't say the 7 deadly words, but it's right there. And it's one of those things, because it is free. If you don't like it, then don't listen to it. And if you like it, please tell 20 of your friends to listen. That's just the way it works. But the one thing where normally we bring people down with Brett's questions, I don't think he can bring you down, but because we're down at the bottom. But in saying that means I think we're the tops. So because we did such crazy shit. But go ahead, Brett.
All right, I'm just going to fire off random statements off the top. The Cali statement that you said, Sebas, about how they just live there and stay there. I hope we can keep it that way. You said William's a great name. I agree. It was my dad's name. And I wanted to let you know that pay still has not changed for part-timers since you left Cumulus. Just so you know.
Yeah, they don't screw around with that too much. And that's the thing, is that California is now leaving. I mean, that's a big local story. I don't know what our numbers are, but they're in the tens of thousands every year that we're losing just because people if you don't work in the entertainment industry, if you don't have to be here, the guy who's managing the grocery store, why aren't you doing that in Texas? Because the cost of living is 2-3 times as much. I will agree. The weather's awesome. That is fantastic. I couldn't even be back in Atlanta or where I grew up in Nashville, just because it got down to 50 here the other night, and I was like, oh my God, what the hell's going on?
That's awesome.
But yeah, if you don't, a lot of people, they're just born here, this is what they know, so they just stay here. But now, like I said, the cost of living is going up so much, they're like, well, Texas is pretty damn cheap. Georgia's pretty cheap. Florida's cheap. Tennessee's cheap. Why not go for it?
And people in all those states do not want any Californians moving there.
Oh, especially Texas. I travel a lot for the stuff I tape, and I'm in Texas 3-4 times a year, and they hate how they've ruined Austin. Austin is absolute. I know. It's disgusting. I mean, not disgusting. It's still a fun city. Great time to go there. But as far as just like the homeless and the permissiveness and I know this is not, and then Steve and I, not to bag on anybody who doesn't have a home, but as far as just letting people take over entire city blocks, like literal Skid Row, all of LA has become Skid Row. It's just, you can't walk down the sidewalk. God forbid you're walking down the sidewalk with your kid in a stroller and there's some dude smoking meth. He's got a bunch of broken down bikes he's trying to fix. There's poop everywhere, but you can't do anything about it. Yeah.
That's horrible. It's horrible. They got to fix that. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Sebas, you were talking about how, back then nobody had a phone camera or a camera phone or whatever the hell you want to call it. You get it. Yeah. But nowadays, you're actually killing it. You entertained me all through quarantine with cart narcs.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. It's one of those things that's, like, think about bits we used to do on the air, like Steve, like if homeless karaoke had become its own spin-off show, that we talked about the optics beyond that, but other stuff we on the street stuff you would do. But the power of the internet has kind of made this one bit that we started doing just as it was just a one-off thing. It wasn't that awesome to begin with. We just were like sitting around one day like, well, why don't people take their damn carts back? Why do they leave them out in the middle of a spot? So the bit started, almost 2-ish years ago or so, where I just walked up to somebody who was doing it and said, hey, what are you doing? And then they immediately get defensive. They start yelling and cussing at me, and we're like, whoa, hey, where'd that come from? So then, and Steve knows this, whenever you build, you just what's the next thing we can do? How can we make this a little more interesting? What can we try? And so now we've got this whole spin-off, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a whole character of Agent Sebastian that goes out there, and all these other voices and other characters I'm doing. And it's one of those things that's kind of snowballed. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm making enough money on the side off that to cover traveling to Texas and all across the country to do it. Because that's the number one thing that people will do is they'll say, oh, yeah, you pussy, you try that outside of California, see what happens. Like, all right, I'll go to Dallas, I'll go to Miami, I'll go to Detroit, I'll go to Chicago, I'll go to New York. That being said, when I was last in the...
Don't go to Philadelphia. It's not worth it.
I was sort of around Philly last summer. It's pretty nasty. I agree. You know what's the worst city to drive through that is just depressing is Baltimore. Because they have those row houses, which are just sort of basically condo townhouses that are all brick, and they're just blocks and blocks for miles and miles with these chain link fences out front. The awnings are falling in, and it's just depressing. In that whole Baltimore DC area, it's just you go because I'm driving through going to the grocery stores or whatever, not just in the tourist areas. That was just gross. But that being said, I did have a gun pulled on me in Texas, just like within the last month. So Texas lived up to its reputation a little bit there.
Oh,
and the cops wouldn't do anything about it. The dude, this was north of Austin, about 45 miles or so. Dude, he's left his cart up on the grass next to his work truck, his plumbing truck.
Hey, what are you doing?
I go up and approach him. He kind of laughs it off. Hey man, take it back for me. And we have these little bumper magnets, which again is like the part of. I didn't start with that. We just kind of built it, that kind of like say, I didn't take my cart back, and it's got our little phone number on it. So I go to slap it on the side of his truck.
Ooh.
Here comes the Glock. and I've got the video. There happened to be a cop, as I'm running away from where he is with his gun. I see a cop. It's like, oh, hey. Calls another cop over, show him the video. He's like, well, he didn't point it at you. So what the?
He cocked it.
And I said, well, he didn't point it at me, but him pulling the slide back, and it's pointed out his windshield, which is facing a street. How is that not something? And he's like, eh. So there's some cops for you too here in Burbank.
Yeah.
Texas did to some degree live up to its name. The Card Knocks is super fun, and maybe one day it may become more than just an internet thing. We'll see.
Well, you know what, and I hope so. I like the lid. I see the Cart Knocks.
Oh,
it's a good lid.
Merchandise and stuff.
Yeah, baby.
Did you film Steve's most awkward interview according to Reddit?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Was talk about a minute ago. We did a lot of those Southside Steve TVs with guests who were pretty decent, porn stars and comedians, some actors and stuff like that. Who was that, Steve? It was a porn star, right?
It was a blonde. I just remember a blonde chick, and she had that the little baby, little baby voice, and she was known for backdoor action. So I'm like, okay, this is what you do. How am I going to offend you? And I knew the question I was going to ask. You knew it, and it was based on a girl I was dating at the time who, God bless, things happened to her, but it was like, I talked about her voice, and we just did something totally shocking. And I thought because she was in the business and because of what day and time it was, we did things like this. We just had you on our show talking about what you do, how you got started, how many dudes you've slept with, So I'm like, okay, I can ask this, but boy, it blew up. I catch hell about that twice a week. And I'm like, there's two bits that you filmed me on that I catch hell for. I catch hell on that one, which if the girl's around, look, it was a setup. It was a radio joke. Sorry. Okay. I don't hate you. I wasn't trying to make a fool out of you. I just wanted to see how you'd handle the question. Playful. Yeah, just being playful. But then the other one is the Bill Burr interview. Oh my God. When I was dressed in my going to Wild Bill's outfit, and he just, and Bill and I joke about this all the time. He goes, man, I don't know why they hate on you so bad. He goes, it was obvious I was just effing with you. I'm like, Bill, they hate me. They hate me.
Well, there's two things you're dealing with there on the internet. Number one, you got Captain Save-A-Ho over here for the chicks. They're, oh my God, I would never. I can't believe it. And two, you got Bill Burr, who's made his living being just he's a funny dude, but he will bust your balls super hard. So you got those, and the internet loves him for that. So you got those two things working against you, and you kind of get to be the punching bag.
Punching bag.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. That's what we sign up for. And let me tell you, Brett, when that was being filmed, don't think Sebas on the other end of that camera wasn't laughing. It was fun.
Yeah, no, those are always great. Those are great little fun things. Southside Steve TV. That's I kind of forgot what I said. Like having guests this past year because everybody's on Zoom or on the phone or whatever. So hopefully, a couple more months we'll be done with that. Fingers
I hope
crossed.
so. I hope everything cleans up and we get guests back in the studio. What else you got, Brett?
I still really love the video of the drunks at Monster Jam. I actually rewatched it again today.
Yeah, that was one of the super viral things that in the short time that I was with Bailey and Southside that it was just this chick was nuts, going crazy. Turned out she was there with her husband and her dad, father-in-law, I forget which one it was. And she just talking about super drunk, super country. Turned out she was from like real far north Georgia, had come into Atlanta for the monster truck rally. And I've been to several monster truck rallies here in it's in Orange County in Angel Stadium. I was thinking, oh, hey, let's go. Let's find some rednecks. Hell no. It's all like super sanitized. You got to go to the real ones. Yeah. Oh. I went to the championships in Vegas. It was kind of sanitized. There are rednecks especially out in the desert areas around here, Bakersfield, outside of Las Vegas, but it's a lot more family friendly, at least to my experience. But yeah, she's going on and on about how her man's got a big truck, and I think it was on Ellen and a bunch of other places. And
it was big.
But she calls in, talks about how her husband or whatever his business was getting. But I get it to an extent. Like if you're not in the sort of quote unquote business, you aren't used to that attention. You aren't used to, and you don't realize it'll go away in 2 days. Who cares? Just ignore forget about the emails. It's gone in a minute. So
there's always somebody else doing something stupid 24 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. And even celebrities who are in the business who worry about it, can't deactivate their Twitter and go on all these apologies. Adam Carolla talks about this. Just shut up for a day. It'll go away. 2 days, maybe. But we took the video down because to be nice to her and to be nice to the arena, because they were obviously big sponsors, nice people. They didn't want their arena to look like it's full of these drunken hicks. I get it. That's fine. But yeah, the video's still out there and still gets around. But it was a lot of fun. And again, it's just a random thing. Happened to have a camera and a mic there. Just like Steve says, when you do this a lot, you get an eye and an ear for those sort of people who are a good time.
Oh,
and I wasn't abusing her. I wasn't being a dick to her. I was just letting her tell her story.
Let me tell you, there's so many girls that quit. They wanted to date, but they couldn't handle it because they want the focus on them. My wife always understood it and still does, but you'll be out on a date, having a nice night, but you catch something, you see something, you're like, hold on a second. And I might be back in 5 minutes, or I might be back in 25 minutes, but what I'm going to bring on the show the next day is gold. And
right,
you got to do it.
Happening. Yeah, it's not like, look, we're not doctors, we're not paramedics.
No,
we're not saving lives out there. We're just saying, hey, we want to catch this little bit of this little interesting story or whatever.
Hey, you don't have to kiss Steve's ass on this one, but which member of the regular guys taught you the most?
Taught me the most.
I don't know if we taught him anything.
This came up on our show recently. Is we talked about there's nobody in radio, there's no program to like teach you how to learn to edit audio or teach you, like when I started with Steve, I hadn't done any video editing whatsoever. There's nobody to like say, hey, you should, there's no development process. When you work talking to TV people I've met out here.
Which regular guy do you think taught you the most?
And this is not a political or a kiss ass answer, but I think it was actually pretty even amongst them. Like Steve, definitely for the stuff on the street. Just how to all the other stuff, like event sort of stuff that we did. It's how to handle people and deal with getting to talk to people and do it's interviews with people who didn't know they were going to be interviewed, that sort of stuff. And then Eric, well, Larry for what not to do, that's for sure, and how not to treat people. And then Eric for how to deal with Larry,
Well said. Well said.
And that's not to take a total crap on Larry. He's certainly not. I'm sure you've had him on the show since, right, Steve?
Yeah, we have. We haven't had Eric on. We've had Larry on twice, and the second time he pretty much was taking over the podcast. I'm like, Larry, I love you. You can't. But he's married now. He's married. I think he's moving to Florida. I don't know.
How did he? I was always, because he's been off the air for. How did he like make mortgage payments and stuff? Did you guys get into that?
No, from what I hear, he was a paid extra. So he hung out and was being an extra in all the movies and getting some SAG pay and just doing things. A lot of people don't realize that you were the police officer in Blindside that Sandra Bullock pushes by. Look, he didn't even remember. He's in a movie and he didn't even remember. That's how big Sebas has gotten. Yeah. But I love that scene where she pushes by you. I watched it 2 nights ago. And I'm like, there's Sebas. He's a cop. But that's what Larry's been doing. And he may have been getting funded by his father. I don't know. But he was finding a way. Now you are sitting. So I'll tell you, he's working for Herman and he's doing mortgages.
You know, that's
which actually is probably pretty cool. I bet Larry's badass at it.
Yeah, I mean, look, look what Jimmy Barron did. He left radio.
Selling houses.
Yeah, and he's having a great time doing that, is from all I can tell.
That's great.
Yeah, so good for, God, no bad blood or ill will there. And then obviously Eric's still on the air, so great for him.
Yeah. And
I tuned into Eric's show recently. That is not a traditional political talk show by any means, but he's been several years now, so it works for him, I guess.
It does. And what Eric did is as we knew, he was taking everybody that's on that show, besides I think one guy was an intern, and Eric kept them around. And then when he was unemployed, he started his podcast and had them on it, and they went through hell. Eric, I think, knowing Eric being the kind of guy he is, he was probably paying him out of his pocket. I don't know it for sure, but I'm pretty sure. And then he kept sending the podcast out, and WSB took an interest. You get a 1 hour show, you get a 2 hour show, now you get a 3 hour show.
Yeah. I mean,
so cheers to him.
Rest in peace, Herman Cain, obviously. God bless.
Oh, God bless. Yeah.
Yeah. But it worked out for Eric's favor. So, that was the other one thing, because I was helping him right when he was starting that podcast, like building out his studio, because I'd helped him with all that driving and crying stuff. We, filmed all that footage, went up to Brooklyn, and Athens, all that stuff. That was the one thing Larry said, because he knew about some of that stuff going on as we were building out Eric's little home studio, was, whatever you guys want to do, it's fine. You just can't work with Eric.
I know. I couldn't believe he was telling you you couldn't. And that's the thing, Brett, and listeners may or may not know it, but you're right. Eric took an interest in Driving and Crying, a band that basically I cut my teeth on because they were so friendly back in the day with 96 Rock and Christopher Rude and the Wake Up Crew. And those guys came out to golf tournaments at 6 a.m. They came to a firehouse, Station 21 in Buckhead. They did anything we asked. Kevin and those guys are fantastic. And then all of a sudden Eric takes an interest in them and wants to do a documentary on them, which is so damn cool. And he's doing it the right way. Sebas is all in. He's he even shot a video for him at my old bar. Yep. And we were all in it. And then Larry starts saying who you can't help out. And I'm like, when that dude's off the clock, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
And like you said, Eric was paid, and I wasn't getting a lot of money, but he would help me out. In fact, the best thing he ever did for me, besides being a very nice person in general, was I had racked up like $1,400 in traffic tickets, not in a row, but because I was living in Brookhaven at the time. I had either forgotten my registration or my insurance or something. I got pulled over for a taillight on one of the dumpy cars I had. Turned out that I had a warrant for not having the registration or something somehow.
Wow.
So I ended up having to go to I didn't have not jail or anything, but I had probation. I had a probation officer I had to meet with for 6 months, and I had all those fines. And Eric, for what I was helping him with all the video stuff with the Driving and Crying, helped me out a lot with that. So that was, again, very generous, super nice. It obviously is paying off for him now, because when you're nice and good to people, that you don't have to. You can just do that for yourself, but that's karma for you, basically.
No, karma is a thing. And by the way, if you're noticing that Sebas has a different camera angles because we had technical difficulties, and he's now on his phone, which is fantastic.
Hey, that's the great and the bad of technology.
That's it. You got one closing question for Sebas?
I think it's all that porn sucking up the internet out there in LA.
Yeah, probably.
You have a great name, Sebastian. I was curious, who do you think the top 3 Sebas or Sebastians of all time have been?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. There was the kicker, Sebastian Janikowski.
Janikowski. He was number 1 on my list.
Oh, there you go. There's a guy who we've begun, and I never met him in person, but he's a very famous comedian, Sebastian Maniscalco. But we crap on him on our show all the time. We just do these impressions of him, but he's very famous. So he's up there, I guess, and a lot of people. And then Sebastian Gorka is a political guy. I don't really know anything about him.
He's on my list.
And then that's about it. That's it.
You also forgot Sebas from Dumb and Dumber, Sebastian Crab from Little Mermaid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. Yeah, that's my name for it was we were his freshman year spring break down in like Daytona Beach. And back when they had ice, the old style ice machines with the door you lift up and you scoop out the ice as opposed to I was taking a piss in one. Super cool.
No.
I was like 18 at the time. I know. I'm not proud of that, but my friend who left Georgia Tech to go to the Marines, like, kick his ass, Sebas, and that's where the whole name came from. It's just a shortening of Sebastian, but I'm not proud of that. It's one of the many things in life I've done I'm not proud of. I wouldn't recommend it.
Nope. We ought to do a show we ought to do another podcast together where we go, here's a list of 30 things we're not proud of, and see what people think about us.
People like, I would never change anything in my life. No, there's plenty of stuff like where I was mean or a dick or whatever. I would, there's plenty of stuff I would change.
Well, I can tell you right now, I never took it personal. I know I got angry one morning. Sebas and I almost went to blows, and Eric ended up shutting down the show, and I got sent home. We all got sent home. I had to go to anger management, but it was just because, you're programmed to do it. I didn't quite understand it. I think I've grown up a lot, even though I should have been grown up already, but I can tell. I think you always knew I liked you, and I would do anything for you. I just thought that you were just you. And I'm like, I'm still going to help the dude, but I knew what fantastic work you did. I knew how much you were helping me, and I was loyal to you big time. But I can see that you have changed a lot, and I got to tell you, man, it's great to see, and you're blowing up. I'm so happy for you.
No, I appreciate that. And yeah, it's one of those things that, like you said, I wish the thing I said was a joke, but I wish I hadn't said it. It was stupid. It was trying to be provocative. It wasn't serious by any means, but
I know, but that was on me because I took it serious, I blame me.
Well, yeah, and again, I wish I hadn't have said that because again, it was the way it came off. It doesn't matter if it's, especially nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's a joke or not. It's what gets said, unfortunately, to one degree or another. But yeah, chalk that up to things I wish. That list is long, and hopefully it grows less and less. But
Yeah, it was stupid. Brett, I actually took the chair and threw it up into the ceiling and broke a ceiling tile. I also went after Larry. I went after him 3 times.
Oh, there were a couple of those. Well, but Larry deserves it.
Yeah, he did. But you talk about volatile radio, and I hope Atlanta remembers. I think on the Woody Show, you've got an edge. There's no doubt Bailey and Southside has an edge. Nobody, and I'll say this to anyone, no one I've ever worked with is a racist. Nobody I've ever worked with is a pervert. And I will tell you right now, everybody I've worked with just basically loves shock humor. And that's really it. So there's nobody that I've ever worked with in my career that I can think of that was a bad person. But would they say something horrible and not mean it to get a shock? Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, and that's it's the way some guys can still pull that off to this day. I'm thinking like Anthony Jeselnik is one of those dudes.
Oh, I love his delivery, man. He's one of my faves. Love his delivery.
But you have to own that. It's such a thing now. You have to own that persona. You can't just. Unfortunately, it's harder and harder to just dip your toe into that persona nowadays, or else people come after you. And hopefully, you either work for yourself and don't give a crap like people like Adam Carolla. Or you work for a company that's cool enough not to totally screw you over.
You want a company to take your back a little bit and be like, okay, know what's going on, talk that person down to that individual, but it's almost like, why are you listening if you're looking for something? Why does anybody want to try to ruin anyone's livelihood or their career? These are words.
We get it all the time, especially when we get on. And we just got on in Philly pretty recently here, and we get tweets every once in a while from somebody who's never heard the show before. I can't believe the Woody Show did X, Y, and Z, and we have, it's sort of an unwritten rule. We don't even reply to that person because all they're looking for is to be validated either. And even if you go after them and say, shut up, we don't care about you, that's enough. Cause that's that's a response. I got something. That's all they're looking for is It's that's the old book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. People just want to feel important. It doesn't matter if they're building you up or tearing you down. They want to. That's how they get their value in their life. And just don't give them anything, and they'll move on and go on to the next thing.
You hope so. You know what? I got a lot of things in my personality. I don't have that. I don't need to be validated. I don't need to, and I got enough ego like you do, and like even Brett does, to do what I do for a living, but my ego's in check. I don't think I just think I'm a fun guy, and we've done some really crazy things, and you just want to get credit for them and hope those things move you up a ladder. That's all.
Actually, who's good at this now, from at least the physical perspective, is that Eric Andre. He's got a new movie coming out. He's on Adult Swim. He's sort of the new Jackass. He does a lot of like just naked stunts, fake blood, falling off buildings, all that stuff. So he's sort of kind of taken up that era. And then there's a new Jackass movie coming out too. So
there is. Bam won't be in it because he's lost his mind. But
he's got substance abuse issues. That sucks. But,
just quit drinking, dude. That's all you gotta do. Quit drinking. Do the movie. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
But who knows? One thing that Brett and I like to do, and you've kind of covered it, but I do want people that haven't seen you in a while, definitely anyone in Atlanta who knows everything you've done and has told the stories of the old regular guys, or even Bailey and Southside. We give it the cigarette break. So I just want you to shamelessly brag and plug yourself and tell everyone how they can find you on social media, what you're doing, and where you're doing it.
Yeah, the radio show, that's thewoodyshow.com. You can check out. They might be in a city you live in and you don't know, or you can stream it. And then like we were talking about, Cartnarks is sort of the big thing that kind of is taking on a life of its own. That's at Cartnarks on every platform: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. Steve, I was thinking about you because we got a fan out here in LA who I know you would be friends with, is Jerry O'Connell. Because he was a fan of Cartnarks on Instagram. His twin daughters, who are like 12, love it. Which I'm like, there's some stuff in there that's pretty racy, at least with language wise and violence, people threatening me and stuff. But just so he DM'd me on Instagram, tagged himself with his daughters in a photo, putting their cart back. We had him on last year, and he's got that. If you ever I don't know if you got a chance to interview him over the phone at least, but he's just got the attitude that's like, this is a dude. He's chill. He gets it. He's fun. He's married to one of the hottest women of, the 2000s, Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah, he is.
Now he's sort of much like Steve, family man now. He's got a couple kids, but he still has that sort of sense of humor about him, that kind of just guy humor. So yeah, he's one of our many fans.
I'd love to talk to him. Never even interviewed him, I don't think. That would be cool.
Yeah, because he had a talk show he was doing for a while, I think out of Wendy Williams' studio, of all places.
Wow.
Because women still like him because he's handsome as hell. He's sort of the family man now, so he'd be perfect for a talk show. Because I know he had done a few episodes of that, but I think that was sort of they're looking to see if they could produce an syndication thing. I don't know, but
right.
But him and Rebecca are still both working a ton. They live out here, in Calabasas areas near the Kardashians.
Boy.
Having him as a fan was super cool, and he made me think of Steve because he's just got that sort of cool, fun attitude. Oh, speaking of people Steve likes, I worked out at a gym a couple of years ago that Mark Paul Gosselaar worked out at when he was of Franklin and Bash fame, and of course of Saved by the Bell. He's done a ton of other things obviously since then. But he was working out for I think it may have been an Amazon series, or he was like a Navy SEAL or something. He was huge. He would come in there every once in a while, wave and say hi. And then I saw Breckin Meyer, also of Franklin and Bash, on stage at it's the UCB is a comedy theater here. They do a lot of improv, but also stand up. And but they do is they bring in famous people to tell a story, and they do like improv off the story. And Breckin Meyer was talking about how this date he went on with this one girl who took a crap. Like he slept at her house, woke up to find that she had taken a dump in the middle of the floor.
No.
But yeah, so people talk about like the Hollywood douchebags and stuff, and that's for sure that exists. But that's one of the cool things about being out here is you kind of there's still dudes who maybe aren't from here, or even if they have been famous their whole life, like Mark Paul Gosselaar, they're just cool dudes, and it's nice to see that, and cool chicks too,
No, it was funny when the Franklin Bash thing came here. I endorsed it for TNT, and I traveled out to LA twice to be with the guys and cover it and talk about it and all that other stuff. So I became friends with them. Then they came to Atlanta, and I hosted the party in Buckhead. You know, it was just me as the host and them standing on stage taking questions. And it was so funny because I talked with Mark, and I'm like, "Yeah, man," you know. And he would take my phone call in Atlanta, but he goes, "Don't call me unless I'm in Atlanta." And he was really, and he was so deadpan, but I knew he was serious. I'm like, "Mark, I won't." But whereas Breckin Meyer, you know, we cut up a lot, and he did me a solid. He only likes 30 people, I guess, on his Twitter, and he liked me for like about 8 months. I was number 31, and I would send him stuff, and then he dumped me. But, you know, it's so funny. Every time I see him, either one of them, they'll recognize me and they'll go, "Yeah, come here. Yeah, come oneth." They will not say, "Yeah, come on." They make up any different word they can, but they have never said, "Yeah, come on." And Breckin Meyer even wanted a "Yeah, come on" in a Southside Steve's hat, and I sent it to him. But I haven't seen them because they haven't been in Atlanta. And I haven't talked to him, but I do have Mark Paul's phone number, and I'm not going to call it. I'm just not unless he's in Atlanta.
Cool. That's why you got it, because you don't use it. I mean, you don't.
Yeah, you got to be cool. Just like I never had Travolta's phone number, but I had his assistant's phone number.
Yeah, well, there's guys like that. I think they're often, most of the time, they're dudes who came up the long, slow way. Like Bert's like that, who came up out of Florida. There's a comedian, Joe Coy, who we've become friends with out here, but he grew up dirt poor in Las Vegas. It took him 20 years to become, you know, now he's doing Netflix special after net. You know, these guys who are the quote unquote overnight successes, but it's been 20, 25 years. Like those are the dudes and women who are that I found, at least being out here. And we see this when we were in Atlanta together. Like you could tell when they're cool, down to earth, and they're not just some freaking maniac, you know?
Well, even when I was going out with Kim Zolciak, you were filming all that. Mm-hmm. I was insane. I was like, "What am I doing?" But you know what? That one, I was like, I don't want to be the love interest on the Housewives of Atlanta. So I faded back. I don't know. It's probably a mistake. I probably should have done it. But then it was funny. 2 weeks later, I see on the front cover of People magazine, she's now dating a girl DJ. I'm like, well, that was another way to go, you know? But the business is the business. It's just nuts. So, you know, I just hope people cut people slack. So we got the Woody Show. We got Cart Narcs, which is fantastic. How do people just follow you? What are you on as far as like Facebook? What? I don't even think you're probably on that. Are you Instagram or are you Twitter?
I just do. I'm really, this Cart Narc stuff is enough because there's you know it's a couple 100,000 followers on each of those, so that takes a lot of time to kind of deal with all that stuff. So that's you know, that's all I really deal with. And until that gets taken down, or you never know, we'll see. That's what I'll be doing.
Well, I only hope the best. Brett, anything to say to Sebas in closing?
No, man. I think you guys wrapped it up. Thanks for joining.
Oh, yeah. I really appreciate you having me.
No, it was my pleasure, and I'm glad you came on. And again, I'm proud of you just because I worked with you, and I knew, you know, I'm kind of glad you got out there and did that because I think you were bound to do something bigger, if you know, and you were single and you were at the right place at the right time to do it. You had nothing holding you back.
For sure. Yeah. I was like, I'm paying month to month. I pay my roommate $600 cash. There's no kids. There's no dog. And like we said, it's a couple of.
See ya.
Yeah. I'll put that on the Greyhound. I'll see you out there in a couple of days.
Well, we'll be watching Cart Knockers. Narkers. I love it.
I've heard worse. Trust me.
I'm kidding you. Cart Knocks. Cart Narcs. I got it.
Like Narcos.
Narcos. Sorry, Narcos.
Yeah.
See, that's me. Sebas knows it's Southside. That's what I do. That's what I do. I come by it honestly. No, proud of you again, and thank you for being on the Yeah Come On show. And we'd love to have you again if that's okay.
Yeah, no, anytime.
All right, and if you got a mailing address to the radio station, we'll hit you up. Where's your station at? It's right there where you are in Burbank.
Yeah, we're in Burbank. We're here right next to, like I said, Warner Brothers and Nickelodeon, and it's a cool little town. We avoid the rest of LA because we have our own police department who actually will, you know, not let people crap on the street. So we're not Beverly Hills, but we're like a nice little enclave in the middle of you know, everything else.
Well, thank God, man. I hate that that's going on out there on the West Coast. And
San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, it is gross. I mean, San Francisco is the worst, but it's it's taken over down here.
Come on, Nancy Pelosi, work that out, babe. I held back. That's all I'll say. But I just want to ask one last question because I'm thinking about it. You still right down the hall from Ryan Seacrest? Is he still in your building or no?
Yeah, it's
or
weird.
Was he?
Yeah, no, he will. It's funny because he was doing the show out of his, and to the best of my knowledge, I just hear this, walk around the halls, out of his house here in LA. He has a full-on, like super, like the nicest radio station you've ever seen in your studio you've ever seen in your life. That is, yeah, it's 10 steps down the hall from us. That is empty.
Wow.
360 days out of the year.
Wow.
And he was doing it. He was dialing in, I believe, from his house in LA. And then when he got the Ryan and Kelly thing, it's my understanding that he does the Kelly show first and then does the LA, because he's ahead of time there, and then does the radio show. But from a studio, I guess, in that area, in the building he's in, doing Ryan and Kelly, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a full on, like, again, beautiful, like 6 mic studio that is just. But hey, man, that's when you got the money to pull it off. Hey, I don't begrudge him.
No, not at all. Never hating on anybody being successful, and definitely not hating on one Sebastian Daskowitz. I hope your mom's proud.
Roswell, Georgia, right? I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But just goes to show you, like, when you talk about too, like, people are like, oh, it must be hard doing radio in LA or whatever. Like, nah, if you're decent at it, it's just where you live these days.
That's all. And that's the way you got to look at it. I remember running into Ryan when he was working for Star, and I just started with 96, and we were both doing a grocery store gig. He was there before me, and I was coming in afterwards. It was a charity thing, and that was him. And then I had guys in high school that I knew that were both engineers at Star and were working with him, and it was just so weird how And then he's here, and then, man, you do American Idol, and you're gone, dude. You're gone.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's weird though, hearing him when I first got here, like doing a commercial for like the local grocery store, and he's still, it's still the same thing. It's radio, radio.
It is.
The TV commercials out here for the local, car dealership are the same as they are in Atlanta. It's not some big like, oh, LA, New York thing. It's the same stuff.
Yeah, well, that was very humble of you. I like the. Is that a safe in the background?
It is actually. Just because I moved into I'm renting this house for like a year.
Sure.
Because I was tired of my little condo that I'm selling, so I got a full-on treadmill in the den. It's like a big. You can kind of see it's a big lofty area here.
I like it.
And I've got so much like camera gear and stuff for work. The safe costs like $1,200. It's 300 pounds, whatever. But it's like 12-hour fireproof. And since I don't have a roommate, I'm like, man, if I'm gone, like I'm going to Vegas this weekend for 3 days. If I'm gone and somebody breaks in, there's nothing to protect my stuff. I at least want to make it hard on them,
That's safe. Well, I have one like that too. I have a big one, and I'm like, you got to have something like that. Make it hard on them. Well, good luck going to Vegas and everything. Stay healthy. Don't catch the stuff, man.
No, and that's the thing. I've been traveling really everywhere this whole year, but I'm by myself. I'm not in crowds. Everything I do is outdoors. We don't do man on the street interviews in the past year, but I'm doing the Cartnark stuff because it's across a parking lot basically. And it's been no problem really. So you just don't go indoors. Don't go to parties, which still happens all the goddamn time.
I know.
Like I need to do a gender reveal party. No, you don't.
No, you don't. No, you tape it and you put it up on social media. That's all you do.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but yeah, I've been super careful about that. Not nothing so far. Knock on wood.
All right. Well, you take care of yourself. We'll have you on the Yeah Come On show again sooner than later for sure. And Sebas, it was good having you on, man. The Yeah Come On show. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thank you.